Ozempic is actually making you fatter. It's going to cause a lot of other problems once you start taking it. Welcome back to episode 33 of the Clean Kitchen podcast. And I don't know about you, but everywhere I've been seeing commercials for this new weight loss drug, Ozempic. Whenever I'm watching football, I see it. When I'm out with friends or out with family, it always seems to be a topic of conversation. And on the surface, it looks good. It's a weight loss drug. You give yourself this shot every week and you lose weight. But me, I was very skeptical about this. So I decided to dig in deeper into the research. What are people saying about this? What does the research show? And I found three pretty big problems that a lot of people aren't talking about with this drug. So that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. And I want to quickly talk about these three different problems, but before we go into it. And the first one is that you, the person listening to this podcast, are paying for this drug without even knowing it. We'll get into that. We'll also get into why this drug is actually making you fatter. They claim that it helps you lose weight, but it's actually going to make you fatter. And the third reason that this drug is a really, really big problem is that it's going to cause a lot of other problems once you start taking it. It's actually going to make you even sicker. So if that seemed overwhelming to you, don't worry. We're going to break this all down in an easy to understand way. I think a lot of the information and a lot of the statistics that we're about to talk about in this podcast episode is really going to blow your mind, because a lot of this stuff blew my mind the first time I read it. As always, I have Kevin here with me. But Kevin, let's start with, what is Ozempic?
Yeah, let's get aligned first. It sounds like a miracle drug from what you've just described, but we'll find out if that is the truth. So Ozempic really is a drug that's built as a solution for everything. So obesity is the most common one that you'll see it. As we've talked about before, 80% of Americans are overweight. We talked about it a lot on the food pyramid episode. That's a massive problem. And so a drug that reduces that percentage sounds like a good idea. So that's the background as far as why Ozempic exists. But some of the more funny or even eye-catching headlines are about airlines actually estimating lower fuel costs because their passengers are going to lay less because of Ozempic, which is crazy. Even grocery stores are predicting lower sales because customers are buying less food. So that's what Ozempic is being billed as. That's what all of the marketing is around. So it's important that we understand that at the beginning here.
When I first read that, I thought that was fake, the airline thing.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound real.
It sounds like one of those Black Mirror episodes that you hear about. It's like, oh, airlines are going out of business or their grocery stores are going out of business because no one's buying food anymore.
Yeah. And we're going to get into why these people are buying less food. There's something going on in the body when they start taking this drug that yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Basically wants to make you eat less.
Okay, so that is what Ozempic is. But first, we need to talk about, Kyle, you said we're paying for this. Us as the listeners are paying for this without even knowing. What does that even mean? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I was just reading about this. So there's a bill that's currently making its way through Congress that would allow Medicare and Medicaid to cover anti-obesity medications, which that's currently prohibited right now. But why does this bill even matter, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly. So for most drugs that are some sort of genetic disease, they fall under insurance or Medicare or Medicaid, which effectively means taxpayer dollars are utilized to pay for those drugs in order to help Americans in this case, which is a good thing. We want our country and our citizens to be healthy. What's interesting here is exactly what you said, Kyle, that obesity up until this point is not a genetic disease. It's a side effect of underlying root causes, which we'll talk more about. And because of that, insurance and Medicare and Medicaid do not allow to be paid for something like this. Like I just had LASIK done a few months ago. That's a cosmetic surgery that's elective for me. I pay for that out of pocket. It's not like everyone's taxpayers' dollars are being pooled to fund my LASIK surgery. That wouldn't make sense. But that's what's being proposed right now, is for everyone's money to be pooled up and paid for fat people in America to take this drug, which is kind of mind blowing. If you go look at your W-2, you go look at your pay stub, you'll see a line on there for Medicare and Medicaid. That's the money that the government is proposing to be used for Ozempic right now. Think about that.
Yeah. Does this have anything to do with there was a 60-minute episode a few months ago, I guess, of this doctor saying that obesity is genetic. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, exactly right. What's really interesting about that is we actually have a way to compare two populations of the same genes that are in different environments. Specifically, there's a lot of Japanese Americans here in America.
Mhm.
If we take the Japanese Americans and compare them to Japanese people that live in Japan, you'll find that Japanese Americans are 3 times more likely to be obese than their counterparts in Japan. That proves that obesity is not genetic. It
Yeah.
all has to do with what you're eating, your environment, what you're consuming, what you're putting into your body, and this proves it. So I don't understand how anyone could make the assumption that
Yeah.
obesity is a genetic disease when we have pretty good proof that it is not.
Yeah, I mean, even just go back 50, 60 years and everyone most Americans were thin. It wasn't a thing to be overweight and obese. But as you look at in the start of the food pyramid and the rise of ultra processed food, we've just become more and more sick. So to say it's genetic is just so false in so many ways. And when I remember looking at this clip from 60 Minutes a few months ago, and when I heard this doctor from Harvard, right, researcher and doctor from Harvard, saying that, oh no, obesity is genetic. I similar to this stat about airline. I thought it was a joke. I was like, there's no way she's serious, but she was, and it's really sad.
It is, yeah. There's a really good analogy I think that you've used before about a fish tank and dirty fish. What is that analogy?
Yeah. So there's someone by the name of Callie Means. Maybe you've heard of him before. He is very passionate about really getting. I mean, he's passionate about a lot of the same things we're passionate about, which is getting to the root cause of chronic disease, getting to the root cause of why people are sick in the first place. And he uses this analogy that I absolutely love. He says, if a fish tank is dirty, you clean the tank. You don't drug the fish. Well, look at America right now. 50% of teens are overweight. 80% of adults are overweight. We, as a population, our country is very similar to a dirty fish tank. And basically, they're saying the solution is not, we shouldn't get to the root cause of this and look at the food and the environment we're living in. But no, they're basically saying, let's just drug the people.
Yeah.
But
Let's drug our way out of it.
exactly,
Yeah.
which is it's just going backwards instead
Mhm.
of moving forwards.
Yeah, there's
Forward.
a phrase that I really, really like, and it's history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it often rhymes.
Hmm.
And we've seen this whole story play out before with Ozempic. Justin Mayers wrote an article about Ozempic, and one piece that I loved was that he's comparing Ozempic to previous versions of the quote unquote miracle drug. When we had a rise in heart disease, we prescribed more statins, but heart disease still increased. When we saw more diabetes, we prescribed metformin, but diabetes still increased. We also saw depression increase dramatically, and we prescribed more SSRIs, and depression has only increased. So why would we think that if we're prescribing more and more Ozempic, would our obesity and overweight levels ever decrease? The history is just telling us the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm. And all we're doing is just putting band-aids over all of these things. We're not ultimately getting to the root cause. I mean, look at the average American gets 60% of their calories from ultra-processed foods. That is one of the root causes of obesity, diabetes, chronic disease. 6 in 10 Americans have some kind of chronic condition today. And it's not because they're not taking Ozempic. It's
Yeah.
because it's because of their diet and their lifestyle and the environment they live in. So again, we're not getting to the root cause here when we should be.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So maybe to summarize this first problem that we're seeing, we have a broken system, is what we're saying
Mhm,
through all of
mhm.
this. Our fish tank is as dirty as it can be. 80% of those fish are just barely moving around, swimming. They're obese fish. But what we need to do is clean that tank, and Ozempic is not cleaning our tank in any way whatsoever, and
Mm.
that's really the problem here.
Yeah. It almost seems like they're ignoring the problem, and
Mhm.
I mean, like I said, they just keep putting Band-Aids over it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's move on then to the next problem that you said. This one, I need to find out some more information because you said Ozempic is this miracle drug for overweight people and obese people, but you told me it actually makes me fatter.
Yes, that is true. But first, let's take a step back here, and let me tell you that the basically the marketing term for this drug is Ozempic, and there's also some other names for it, like Wegovy. Am I saying that correctly?
Wegovy.
Wegovy, and what was the other one?
Roe is another one that you might have seen a commercial for.
Yeah. So essentially these are all the same. It's the same pharmaceutical drug. It's semaglutide is the actual pharmaceutical name for the drug, but they're using all of these different names basically. And initially it was used to treat prediabetes, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, these sort of things, but people quickly saw that basically one of the symptoms or side effects of this drug was weight loss. So that's when it kind of exploded. All these people are making videos on social media and all these different things, um, showing losing weight after taking Ozempic. So that's kind of where the weight loss um, virality came from, I guess. But Dr. Peter Attia, which is someone I follow very closely and love his work, he actually points out that Ozempic is actually making you fatter. If you look at your total as a percentage of fat to overall weight, they're actually getting fatter because you're losing muscle and bone density when you're going on Ozempic.
Yeah. The two of the most important things for your overall health, muscle and bone
Hmm.
density, at least keys to longevity
Yes.
for your health, are going away when you're on this drug. So you're becoming a blob of fat when you're on Ozempic, which is the exact opposite of what you want. I think it's really interesting too, the mechanics of how this drug is working. So you mentioned semaglutide. Within all of us, there's a receptor called GLP-1. Without going too sciencey, that
Hmm.
effectively regulates when your body needs food. So when you hear your stomach growl, when you're hungry, your body's telling you, "Oh, I need nourishment, I need food, please feed me." That's programmed into our body on purpose. What semaglutide does is it attaches to GLP-1 and effectively shuts it down from working as it should. So instead of your body telling you you're feeling hungry, your body's not telling you anything. And then you're not eating. And then you're losing weight. You're
Hmm.
losing bone mass and muscle. You're not losing fat as much as a percentage. So that's really how these drugs are working. So like a good analogy here would be if you were to touch something that's extremely hot, think of like a frying pan, and you touch it, instantaneously your hand is going to shut back, move back because your whole body is telling your brain that thing is hot, that thing hurt me,
Yeah.
pull your hand away right now. Your body's programmed in a way to work like that. What the same thing is happening is you're basically telling your body in the same analogy that, oh, don't feel that pain, just let it sit there. Let your hand sit on that hot stove. What happens is your hand is still getting burnt, even if your body's telling you not to move it. It's still
Hmm.
causing damage in this analogy. So just a really wild way to think about this problem.
Yeah. So basically, when you take this drug, when you give yourself this shot, it's basically blocking this receptor, I guess, that is telling you that you're hungry,
Mhm.
and it basically it's blocking that, and it's saying no, you're not hungry.
Yeah.
When in reality you are, and maybe you go out to dinner and maybe you take a couple bites of whatever meal you get, and then your body's like, no, 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 I'm full, but you didn't get the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals and different things that your body needs, that your body is craving. Instead, this drug is blocking your receptor, so you eat less, so you ultimately lose weight. But right here we learned that you're really getting fatter when you look at it big picture.
Yeah, fatter, unhealthier, all of it. It really
Yeah.
is horrible. One of the things we've talked about so much on this podcast is the importance of nourishing your body with good food. You've told me all about these different vitamins and minerals that we get from steak, from beef, even from good chicken and good eggs.
Hmm.
And if your body isn't telling you to eat, you're getting none of that. It's just not happening.
Yeah. The other point here that I think is really interesting is that people that are going on this weight loss drug, their doctors aren't telling them to switch their diet or anything like that. They're saying, no, you're good. Like, it's not the diet. Stay on the same diet. Just start taking this drug and you'll eat less, basically. So now we have the average American that is, consuming 60% of their food from ultra processed food. They're starting to take this drug and they're not changing their diet. They're just eating less of the processed food. So now they're getting even less nutrients. Not that there are nutrients in ultra processed food in the first place, but now they're getting even less nutrients, which kind of leads us into the third problem, which is now they're getting all these other side effects that are going along because they're not nourishing their body properly. So what we talked about, loss of muscle and loss of bone density, which is a really big problem. But what other side effects go along with the use of this drug?
Yeah, there is a long list here, and some of them are actually kind of scary. So please, if you're ever thinking about going on this drug, be aware of some of these at least known side effects. The list of unknown side effects might even be longer, but
Mm,
the known ones are gastrointestinal issues, suicidal ideation, pancreatitis, bowel obstruction, and stomach paralysis. None of those sound good, and none of them, in my own opinion, consult a doctor, are worth the trade off here. So it's crazy how this has kind of started to snowball where Ozempic is billed as this heal all miracle drug, and the list of side effects are really terrifying.
yeah, as the list is with any drug too. Any drug you take, there's so many side effects. But specifically with this one, uh, I was just reading as well that a lot of people are having gastrointestinal issues when they are on this drug, which Kevin and I both know a lot about gastrointestinal problems. But it's also starting to be shown that even when people come off this drug, these gastrointestinal problems and stomach problems, they still continue even when you're off the drug. So it's not only causing problems and symptoms and side effects when you're on the drug, but it's causing it even when you come off. It's causing long-term serious damage to your body. So it's just, yeah, another thing to think about if you're even considering taking this drug, or if you know someone that's currently taking this drug, or if you know someone that's considering to take this drug. Yeah, it's I mean, you said it is definitely a little bit scary.
Yeah, the other point you mentioned there, which is really important, is that there are a lot of people coming off this drug, but the idea is for you to never come off this drug. The
Hmm.
idea is that this is a lifelong drug that you inject yourself weekly for the rest of your life, and that you continue to take Ozempic, and that's also a key piece of this is that this only works when you're on it, and
Hmm.
if you do come off it, a lot of people, as we've talked about, relapse and put on a lot more weight. So it's another key piece of this.
Yeah, I forget if I already mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends Ozempic as the first line of defense for teens. Let me say that again. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends Ozempic as the first line of defense for teens. Not switch your diet, not go outside, get more sunlight, go on walks, exercise, how's your sleep, all of these different things that should, in my opinion, absolutely be addressed before you even think about prescribing a drug. But no, they're recommending Ozempic to overweight teens. And exactly like you said, they are expecting and they want these kids, these teens, to be on this drug for the rest of your life, because it's very clear that when you do come off this drug, you will gain the weight back.
Mhm.
And some people I've even seen gain the weight back when they're still on the drug.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just looking for, unfortunately, reoccurring revenue source. And if they're prescribing this drug to you as a kid, then man, that's some serious money.
Yeah, you told me a quote before we started. There's nothing more profitable than a sick kid. That's the best thing you can get if you're a pharmaceutical company. And it's funny, both of us kind of fall into that category. When we were first diagnosed with Crohn's, we were young. We were
Yeah,
in high
teens.
school. Yeah,
Teens. Yeah.
teens. But to make it more real and kind of bring it to life a little bit, not exactly the same situation here with obesity, but when you first were going through conversations with doctors about Crohn's disease and trying to figure out your symptoms, did the topic of food or sleep ever come up?
Never.
Never.
It was, here's this drug and here's the studies to support that you should be taking this drug.
Mhm.
And when I did bring up food to my to my GI doctor, she shut me down so fast and basically said that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe, I mean, it's not even her fault. It's just she wasn't even taught that. Like, doctors aren't even taught anything about nutrition in medical school. And I think that's the other thing. I was just talking to our dad about this yesterday. I was saying that, yes, I mean, doctors are great. So thankful that we have, amazing doctors, but we isolate all of these different systems in our body, the digestive system, our heart, our brain. I mean, some people specialize in, a millimeter part of your body, when we really should be looking at it big picture, because all our body is working together in so many different ways. So I think we should stop isolating these different systems in our body and look at it big picture, which is what kind of functional holistic medicine does. Holistic meaning you're looking at the body as a whole instead of zooming in on one little thing in the human body.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is
Yeah.
connected. If there's one theme throughout the first 32 episodes we've done, is how connected our whole body is, and it doesn't make sense to look at anything in isolation. Ozempic is treating obesity in isolation without worrying about the impact it has on your gut, on your brain, on your liver, all of these other parts of your body that are key to your health outside of just how much you weigh. It's funny, as you were talking about your experience with doctors, it's almost the same fish tank analogy, where the doctor's environment is kind of this dirty fish tank, and the root cause is that in school they're not being taught about many of these things, and it's not addressing the root cause here. The entire way that we think about medicine, doctors think about medicine, feels like it needs to be overhauled at its core and not another band-aid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess another thought I guess I just had. Um, we're not against, all pharmaceutical drugs, and even Ozempic. Like, if someone is seriously overweight and they need this drug to, get down to a normal weight and reduce their risk for all of these different diseases, great. But one, I don't think we should be prescribing this to children and teens. And I think a majority of Americans can lose weight naturally by doing a lot of the things that we talk about on this podcast. So we'll kind of leave you with, what should you do if you are looking to lose weight? If maybe you were thinking about Ozempic, or maybe someone that is on Ozempic or thinking about going on Ozempic, what should you do to actually lose weight? And Kevin and I talk about this all the time, but I'd say start by eating real foods, Start with your high quality animal protein, your fruits and vegetables. Try to prioritize that. I'm not saying you can't have any processed food. I eat, healthy processed food with clean ingredients, but just try to prioritize real whole foods as much as you can. Get outside, get in nature, get in sunlight, go for walks, exercise, prioritize sleep. All of these things should come first before you even think about getting on a drug with all of these side effects and all of these problems that are honestly, going on this drug may cause more problems down the road than just kind of, like we've talked about, getting to the root cause initially of why you're overweight, or why you have prediabetes, or why you have this chronic disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add there, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic point. It's not the first line of defense. Like you said, what
Mhm.
the kind of association of pediatricians are
Yeah,
prescribing
yeah,
as the
American
first
Academy of Pediatrics, yes.
yeah, Academy of Pediatrics prescribing this as the first line of defense. The first line of defense should be exactly what you've described. And if that really doesn't work, if you've tried that, then obviously explore all options. Being
Mhm.
at a healthy weight is very important. And we want everyone that we talk to, that listen to this, to be healthy. That's the goal of this. So whatever it takes to get there is crucial.
Yeah, and I think people going on this drug, unfortunately, they're not getting healthier. They may be looking like they're getting healthier, but what's
Mhm.
going on inside of their body, they're not getting healthier.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about when this initially started, Ozempic. I thought it was gonna be a fad, to be honest with
Mhm.
you, when I first heard about it. The first time I remember hearing about it was celebrities that were taking it for, looking good on the red carpet, or maybe they needed it to lose weight for a new role in a movie that they were
Yeah.
playing. But it seemed almost very experimental at that point, but it's only gained traction since then, and now it's being billed to the average consumer as this miracle drug. I feel like we're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday. How many ads are we going to see
Mm.
today that relate to some sort of GLP-1 marker? I think
Mhm.
that I'm going to put the over under at probably 4.5. I wouldn't be surprised to see this. So when this comes out on Wednesday, you guys can fact check me if
Yeah, yeah,
I'm right.
yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked to see a commercial for Wegovy, one for Roe, another one for Ozempic.
Mhm.
It's just becoming ingrained into our society.
Yeah. Yeah, there's gonna yeah, I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of drug commercials, and, I mean, I remember watching, I guess it was 2 weeks ago during the playoffs as well, football playoffs, I saw a commercial for, um, the COVID shot. I think it
Mhm,
was Pfizer,
mhm,
maybe, putting out an ad, and it had a bunch of all these celebrities in it, Travis Kelce, Charlie Puth, and,
mhm,
Martha Stewart, I believe, all kind of promoting to get your vaccine,
mhm.
which
Yeah.
can't say
It's
I agree
crazy.
with.
It's crazy that these that
Being paid
pharmaceutical
millions,
companies yeah.
millions. I saw an article that said I think Travis Kelce got paid $20 million for that, which is
Mhm.
more than his yearly salary in the NFL.
That is crazy. You were telling me earlier that pharmaceutical companies are the largest spender on TV advertisements.
Mhm.
Pharmaceutical companies, you can't for the most part, you can't even buy pharmaceutical products. You'd have to go through your doctor, and yet they
Yeah.
think it's so important to advertise to consumers that they're willing to spend billions on it.
Yeah. Yeah. They're almost like normalizing prescriptions. Because I
Mhm.
mean, think about it. We've been seeing these commercials forever for our entire life. So it's like it's almost normalized. It's yeah, it's normalized to us.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yep.
It's
It is.
normal. It's normal to see these commercials when you're watching whatever. It's normal for the average 40, 50, 60-year-old person to be on 7 different medications. And I think we need to get back to that's not normal.
Yeah.
We need to pull back and say, again, let's look at the root cause of why these things are happening, and let's stop putting band-aids on these
Yeah.
symptoms.
Let's clean
Yeah.
our fish tank.
Let's clean our fish tank. Let's get to the root cause. Wow, that yeah, this was good. This is a good
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, what's the takeaways from all this, Kyle?
I mean, I kind of already said it though.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's getting to the root cause. It's figuring out these other things first before you even consider taking a drug like this.
Yep.
So if you're like I said, if you're considering taking this, take all this into account. Do your own research. Take what we said. Don't take what we said at face value, and
Mhm.
go do your own research. Listen to what other people and I'd like to say experts are saying, but there's some experts that are saying some pretty
Yeah.
bad stuff,
Yeah.
wrong information.
Take in all the information from all sides of the argument and make your own decision
Yes.
on what you think.
And if you know someone that's currently on this drug, or if you know someone that is considering taking this drug, please just share this episode with them, just so they're conscious of these things, and maybe that'll kind of inspire them to do a little bit more of their own research instead of just maybe taking what their doctor said, like, "Oh, you're overweight, you should go on this drug." Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. A little bit of a shorter one here, but hopefully there's some good information in here. And like I said, please share with someone that you think could benefit from this information. And we will see you next week in episode 34.